Hello, everybody on Periscope. I'm just going to get started in a minute. Okay. Hello, this is Sudha Jamthe from Silicon Valley, and this is the IoT show, the Internet of Things show. So thank you for joining me. And in case you see me looking down, this is because I'm looking at my lovely phone where I have Periscope. Thank you, everybody on Periscope. We're just getting started. This is the IoT show. So you have the luxury of posting a comment, unlike my viewers everywhere else. So today, our topic is slightly different from our usual, where we're not going to pick the in-depth topic inside the world of IoT and just analyze it to death. We have Ahmed Banafa with us, and he told me, why don't you look at things in a different perspective? Kind of challenged me, and we had a fun conversation. So what we're going to do is, this is the world of IoT that we are used to on wearables, connected self, connected cars, connected homes, and industrial. But look at it from a different perspective. I'll tell you in a minute what it means. So first, I thought I should introduce Ahmed. Ahmed is a professor here in Northern Polytechnic University. That's his simplistic bio. But he knows about IoT, he's written about IoT, he's talked about IoT, and he's covered a wide spectrum of the evolution of the world of Internet of Things in so many dimensions. So why don't I ask him, Ahmed, tell us a little bit about yourself and how did you get into this world of IoT?
Okay, thank you, Sudha. Hi, everybody. The whole thing started with a small talk I had one time with the dean of one of the universities I used to teach at. She asked me, I heard this thing, Internet of Everything, Internet of Things, and I think she was talking about a conference was presented by Cisco a few years ago, talking about introducing the concept of Internet of Everything, which is not far away from the Internet of Things. And that's actually, for me, it was like, call for me to go and see, okay, let me understand it. Let me see what's going on with this. Because in the Silicon Valley, if you live in the Silicon Valley, you know that every trend will take about 6 months, maximum to come to the top, and then something else will pick up, and then we'll go into the next phase. The whole concept of the Internet of Things was fascinating to me because we have all these devices, and I can give you some numbers here. We have, close to 500 million internet connected devices in all the houses that have apps ready to connect. That's all over the world. It's about 5.7 per household. We have, increases in the use of the sensors everywhere. I don't want to go through the numbers, because starting with the numbers is not gonna make any sense unless we go back and understand the concept. I did some research, and I found that the Internet of Things is actually it's the future or the next step for all this technology. But before we go and dig into the different pieces of Internet of Things, I was sharing with Soda about how I look at trends, whether it's in technology or anything else. I look at it from 3 filters. The first one is technology, second is business, third is society. When I talk about the technology, if there is something new, do we have the technology? Do we have the tools? Do we have the means to manufacture, to make some software, hardware that will do it? And then you go to the next filter, which is the business. If there's any business model that will make money, because we have so many nice technologies sitting in MIT labs or in Stanford, computer center there, but there is no business model for them that will attract businesses to fund that one and to bring it to life. And the third one, which is the most challenging, which is the society. When I'm talking about the society, I'm not talking about only the citizen. I'm talking about, litigations. I'm talking about politicians. I'm talking about the government. I'm talking about everything, all the tiers and layers of the society.
So you're talking about technology getting adopted by society at large, broadly, for it to go from the hype to something of value. So
that is correct. That's correct. And the prime example I give it to, any kind of discussion or panel I'm talking about is Google Glass. Google Glass is, we have the technology, which is wonderful. The business model is questionable, but there is some business for that. And it stopped at the society, where the society rejected this kind of, product. Why? Because of the privacy concerns.
As a
Bars,
consumer product, right?
absolutely,
It was
absolutely.
the geeks who were wearing it, but then the adoption beyond the early adopter tech adopters.
That's absolutely right, and so that's why Google changed the business model. They went back to the second filter, and they say, okay, and this is not for consumers. This is for professionals, surgeon, HR, security, anybody who will have that one for a certain. So that's the business model. We have the technology, we have the business. The society rejected that one as a consumer, that product. I mean, I don't want to sit next to somebody and this person is checking my Facebook or my Instagram feed or my Twitter feed while I'm talking to him or talking to her, or I don't feel comfortable. Bars, they stop that one. Many of the organizations, they say no Google glasses. Why? Because of the privacy concerns, and that's the key thing. When you talk about why a trend like the Internet of Things has to go through all of them until it's being accepted by all the three legs or the three filters or through the lenses, as Soda named them.
For me, I felt Internet of Things was almost real because it was all around me. And the more and more I learned about it, it felt it was creating value in so many dimensions.
Correct.
And I started thinking about it in the angle of, if looking back, any technology that really stayed on and became mainstream created jobs.
That is right.
In my book on IoT disruptions, my focus is, I felt Internet of Things is not done. It's not it's not set in stone, and we just have to go use stuff that's been given by different vendors, different businesses. There is so much innovation that's pending to happen, and there are gaps in there. So I wanted to call out the innovation gaps and show where the jobs were coming, because those who are going to be there in the next 5 years are certainly going to look at it and see it as existing jobs that require experience. When I say people are going to be there, I mean be in this new world using it as consumers. When they look at it, it's going to be there, and it's going to expect that they require jobs. So I want to focus today on the topic of where you said that society needs to accept it. I mean, I think that sounds, for me, I find that there are all these positive articles about Internet of Things, and I'm an equal contributor to that, and a lot of excitement. Other than that, the ones that are cautious and say, here are challenges, are talking about privacy and security, but they're talking about it again in terms of technology terms, right? We don't have the security layer, and do we have this kind of encryption? And I'm trying to understand that world, and I'm having conversation with some others who are experts in that, right? But I think we should go down to us as people, we as consumers. So when Internet of Things is going to make everything internet connect, anything which has electricity flowing through it can be connected to the internet essentially, right? So our lights, and I don't even want to go through the list because viewers of this have been here. Home Depot is selling 600 devices as home appliances, right? Which are home connected devices. Right. Target has their whole open house, which is an internet device showroom out in San Francisco. And it all makes it look convenient, easy. I don't need to switch on my lights, right? I can remotely switch it on. I can have my thermostats, sense it and tell me while I'm at home, what is the temperature. I can monitor it for my pet and a whole bunch of stuff like that, right? So let's come back to what is the trade-off. I mean, for society to accept this, what are we talking about? Give me more examples. I know you had a lot that day when we were talking. Let's pick one. Okay. Let's pick one. The data will be shared with insurance or something like that. Tell me what's your favorite one.
Okay. The whole concept here is and I'm going to answer your question sort of about this, but I was thinking about the how the Internet of Things is forming itself today and how we look at it today. It's if you're old enough, you will understand this example more deeply. In the 90s, everybody is buying a computer. Why? Because computer has all these capabilities. And then suddenly when the internet came up, in the 1996, when it's become like something everybody want to be on that internet, we have all the devices already set up for us through those computers. All what we do is just add a software, TCP/IP, protocol, just to connect it to the internet. We are actually doing the same thing for the Internet of Things. We already have the devices. We already have the sensors. It's a matter of having some kind of layers of the software, and I hope it's going to be an open source. It's not, I don't want to have another company like Microsoft or other companies who will have a monopoly on the market with that kind of connection there. So
we cannot, I don't even want to go there on, taking a side, because I'm very, very particular that I will not endorse anybody. I will not bash anybody.
That's correct.
So,
that's correct.
So, it's okay, you can bash somebody if you want, but it's not going to go on for too long.
No, it's not. It's not endorsement. It's a matter of, I hope it's going to be an open source where everybody can have access to that one for free. That's
the thing is, I think consumers today are much smarter, right?
Correct.
When internet was evolving, there are so many different sites and business models that evolved, but today we just live with devices all around us, and we are so tethered to our phones, and we have convenience of the internet already in so many ways, right?
That is correct. That's correct.
So I think consumers are savvy. Even I think, I've heard discussions about, whenever we talk about privacy, people say, oh, what about Facebook? I actually think it's not even Facebook. I have so much of my information on LinkedIn, right? So it's my entire work history. If you can look at it and see what decisions have I made, what have I done, and now holistically LinkedIn tries to get you to write articles, get endorsement on skills, add your learnings on and volunteer work and professional projects. Everything is out there. You can actually holistically figure out a person, even the culture fit that you want for a job. You can figure that out.
Absolutely.
Right? There's so much. But you know what? I am aware of it as a professional who has worked in tech, who knows what kind of data can be collected, and I'm okay with it. They have my permission to collect my data, even if they go sell it to recruiters or some other companies, because I see the value. I mean, it's not just the value. Some people think LinkedIn is about the value of getting a job. It's not about finding a job. It is about staying in touch with people from my past, from 3 jobs before, or people who worked with me many years and left to move on and done startups and done different things. I actually see them growing up. I see their achievements. They see me growing up and changing and doing different things, right? Which I have no other means of staying in touch and doing coffees with that many people and across the globe. And that's a value add that I get, which I don't even stop to think. Like that, what is the Internet of Things with all these devices sitting in my body, in my home, in my city, all around me? What is it going to give me?
Well, it's the value is big in this case, because you talk about your house, for example, and you go there, and as you said, we don't want to endorse any kind of product here, but if you have a thermostat, a smart thermostat there, and that smart
thermostat, we shall not name it.
Okay, so a device there without name, of the thermostat. That's a smart one that will sense that you are in the house and gonna start adapt the temperature to to the existence of the bodies there, and that's gonna save power, which is translated to money. The same thing with the smoke detector. The smoke detector itself is a smart one, a smart device, and that device will be like a lab that analyzes what kind of a smell you have in the house, and that one can have some kind of recommendation. You're eating too much of meat, you're eating too much of rice, you're eating something like this one. I give you this kind of recommendations. We talk about smart refrigerators, we talk about smart washer and dryers. All these devices now, they're going to have some kind of intelligence, which will be translated by the end of the day to saving you money, saving you time, and that's the whole thing about technology. It's to save you in both directions here. I mean, I don't want to spend too much money because this device is efficient, and this device can give me a recommendation to do certain things. So if we get to that stage where I can trust the devices in my house to make the right decision, and to help me make the right decision if it's too much for them, then we are really at the Internet of Things. And not only your house, your car. There are about 23.6 million cars, on the road now. They have access to the internet, and the companies are fighting right and left to get their cars, connected to the internet, away from the issues of somebody hacking into, one of the cars, because we're going to have.
Before we go to the cars, when you're talking about the value created by my thermostat and everything in my house is cost saving.
Right.
I have a problem with that. I do believe it is cost saving, specifically with a smart thermostat, the way it has crept into our houses and lives, and with more extended devices that it talks to. I agree that it's a no-brainer on the money that you have to spend for it. But I think for these devices to become part of my life, for me to not have that trust, I'm not going to trust a device because it is going to save money for me. I'm going to trust a brand that is giving me the device that will not cross a line, and I can have a conversation with them on things they do that's not okay with me.
Right.
And so when there are hundreds, I think there are 600 devices, and I actually maintain a site called iotdisruptions.com, where I have a crowdsourced list of alphabetical list of IoT devices, and people are adding more devices by the day. So when there are hundreds of these devices, for me to have trust on them and just say, maybe when I open my purse string and and pay for it, I look at the cost saving, right? After that, having it on my body, having it in my house, watching when I sleep and when I'm stressed and when I'm happy. Right. I think it's a different dimension. It's a different way of building trust. So what value, I mean, what are we trading off? Why would I go to that? I am a geek. I love new stuff. So maybe that's me. But, but that's just the beginning set of people who are in the early stage of the diffusion of innovation, right? But mainstream, when they take it, they're going to take it without thinking because they have that trust, like the LinkedIn example I safely gave, right?
That's right.
What am I paying for to have all these things in my house, collecting, watching, knowing me, being big brotherish, or being my mom that, and I'm letting it be. What is the trade-off?
It's the same thing you feel today when you have your cell phone, you have your smartphone. Your smartphone is alive. I mean, the only time your smartphone is not collecting data if the battery is outside. Even if it's off, it's still collecting data. So when we talk about this, there should be a price paid with that. Now, we as a community or as a society, we have to have some kind of a safeguards for this. We don't want to have a Skynet. If you watch the Terminator's movies, we don't have a Skynet at the time where the machine to the machine is talking and making decisions saying this human is worthless. We have
no, I don't think it's like Skynet. I think it's like Matrix,
Yes.
Where it's beyond Skynet, where it knows so much about me and it's managing my life, and it's a very comfortable lifestyle. I mean, and by the way, when you said, your cell phone is alive, I don't know if you know this movie, Number 5.
Yes.
What is it called? Short Circuit.
Yes.
Johnny Number 5.
Yes.
And the first time, the scientist who made it looks at it, and he doesn't believe it's alive, and he says, "I'm alive," and it says to crush a grasshopper is not okay because it's life and you cannot put it back. Right. And he asks it, "Who told you?" And it says, "I told me." So we're going to have these devices which have this "I told me" and run our life.
Well,
cool life. It will come cook for me, by the way. But
that's going to take you to the next level now, which is the next level that I'm really looking forward to. Internet of Things 2.0, and which is we're going to add that layer of emotions to the devices. Now, okay, intelligence is one thing.
Call it affective computing.
Absolutely. That's the technical name, which starts with an A, affective computing, which is MIT has a big research about that. The whole thing about it is that, okay, so you're talking about intelligence. Intelligence is logical. You have certain algorithm, you have certain. Now, how about emotions? How about if I say, okay, if I want to turn off that thermostat and the thermostat told me, listen, can you give me a chance? Can you give me like 5 minutes? Or you are in that car and that car will report, to the cars around you and say, guys, stay away from this car. This guy is having some kind of a heated discussion with his wife or with his friends. So stay away from that one. Instead of we do that when we see a car is driving a certain way. We look into the car and see what's going on. We don't have to do that with the Internet of Things, because the emotions will be another benefit you're going to have from the Internet of Things, given that we should
add that to the self-driving car. I'm sure the self-driving car is looking at how erratic we're driving.
Yes.
The pattern around us. It's not snooping. It has a camera. It can look inside.
It has a camera. Yes. It's a 360 degrees camera. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, and Google. I don't want to say the name. One of the companies who actually doing these kind of driverless cars, they have a report about the accident.
We know that.
Okay. Because there's other cars. There's other companies and manufacturers. But this one, because I know firsthand, they have a report about the accident of the driverless cars, and 99% of the accidents, it is somebody hitting them from the back. They're not making, why? Because when there's a stop sign, there is a stop sign, they stop. Others, they don't want to stop, so they hit the car from the back. So this is one of the things that we're going to be dealing with when we talk about the second wave of the Internet of Things, which is how can I translate the emotions here? How that's going to be translated in colors and emotions. If we see that movie, that I mean, I, Robot of Will Smith, it's exactly what we are heading to, which is the machines will have emotions, will have dreams, and they will collect memories. And that's going to take you to the next level. Okay, which memories and how can we deal with that? And that's the scary part. If I look at the shopping cart, and the shopping cart, they say, okay, can you slow down because you're pushing me too hard? Things like this, you know, this is.
You mean your shopping cart in the grocery aisle will say you're pushing me too hard?
Yes.
Oh, I can't wait to see that day.
and the one I told you about, Sudha, about the smart mirror. The smart mirror, when you wake up in the morning, looking at the mirror, they're going to say, you need to see the doctor, because you look sick, or you know, you don't drive, or you have a headache. Let me call the office and tell them that you're sick, or something like this. Just looking at the mirror, and the mirror will give you all these kind of analysis about how you feel and what kind of recommendation there. I mean, it's like, it's in a sense, it is taking you to something 10 years ago. We'll say this is magical. This is like Harry Potter. You know, when you have all these, you know, devices have some soul inside them, and the soul is, as you know, the cars or the trucks in Transformer, they say, we call this one the soul. It's spark, which is what's inside them. Inside them is something that will bring them alive, so they can transform, they can make decisions, they can have friends with somebody, they can enemies with somebody. All these things is coming. It's there. It's a matter of, we have the database.
When you talk emotions and machines, I think the machine would see a pattern of our behavior and understand my emotions.
Right.
And then it would give me very logical recommendations of what I should do. I'm not thinking of the machine coming and adding its own emotion to the mix. I don't need more of it. We've got people for that.
Well, you cannot stop it. There will be a point where, and I want you and your audience to check something about something called networking. You know, there's certain networks that's called self-healing networks. And this is an old concept that I did some research about it, you know, 20 years ago. What happened is that the network will find some problems with certain parts, and they will heal it by themselves. Now imagine this is now part of the Internet of Things, where they can place the order, get the parts, you know, use your credit card or the, you know, the money of the company to order that one. A robot will bring it, or a drone.
No, we're talking about this. I mean, we are talking, I didn't know, do you call it self-healing networks?
Yes.
You should Google that. This point about, you know, in industrial, the whole M2M communication is expected that, you know, it's not just sensors, it's actuators, and they're going to look at the data and, you know, preset conditions, and they're going to go do whatever is needed in the supply chain to go fix it, or in the machine repair cycle to go fix it.
Yes.
And so there's this whole concept of a machine will talk to another machine. In this case, it could be a tiny device talking, you know, another device.
Correct.
And it would actually authorize payment, and there would be micro payments in there.
That's right. And it's going to override you.
And go, you know, but fix things so things keep running. I mean, I would like to my car to go fix itself. I mean,
yeah, but here's the problem. Here's the problem, sir. Okay, it's
not even tell me, charge my credit card. I'm okay with it.
Well, you have no choice. Once it's there, it's there. You know, now we have those, you know, the credit card, the plastic is going to disappear. It's going to be some kind of, you know, information stored on your smartphone or any devices we're going to use. Maybe it will be something that under our skins, you know, in the future, because there's a lot of movies talking about this. Now, my concern is the artificial intelligence algorithm that's going to be used as an operating system for the Internet of Things. Now, if we are not careful about this one, as Musk said one time, the machines will make decisions and going to override human. You are not, you know, doing the right decision based on certain percentages or probabilities. So this is the problem where we can stop. I mean, what kind of safeguards we have here? I mean, what will be the next, you know, risk we are facing when it comes to the Internet of Things? Is it just privacy? No, it's not privacy. It's more than that. it's control. That's the problem. Who has control at the end of the day? Is it the machine or the human? And once we get to that question, now it's time for us to go to Mars, because they're going to take over at that time.
So you're just making this really look like science fiction.
I'm trying to be honest, because I'm talking to some people who have access to information where, I don't want to say names or any organization, but they have robots that really have emotions based on, looking at a toy and they say, this is an ugly one, this is beautiful. This kind of level of emotion is already, codes we have and we implement and we test in Stanford.
That kind of emotion that we have, I think, is a curse. I think I would be more logical. My husband is super logical. I would be, much more logical. But then, I'm so passionate because of that. So I kind of, try to pause and go look at data. And then I still, jump up with joy, That's us. So I see your point about computers, the whole concept of affective computing. I get that. But where we are today, and when we are talking IoT, and you said society, the three things, right? Technology, business model, and society has to come together. This is the society angle.
That's correct.
From where we are today, where it's so many devices, only early adopter geeks are getting this, right? And the value is sold as, here, I'm going to save you energy, I'm going to save you some dollars in some form, right? We're making your city safe. And that's how the city governments are going to spend money for the smart lightings, right? So how do we, from we are there, is it going to take another rev, or is this rev of IoT going to take off?
It's software. That's all what you needed. It's a software. I mean, I compare it to the computers in the 90s. We have the devices. What made everything, strong and connected is the TCP/IP protocol, which is the free one for the internet. It's the operating system that given by certain companies. That's made everything connected. The infrastructure is there. I mean, if you remember the days of the modems and the days of the ISDN and all these lines, it's actually built on the existing infrastructure, which is connected all the computers all over the world. We have that now. On a factor of 100, 1,000, up in the speed, up in the bandwidth.
So yes, so we have the infrastructure of the basic operating system and basic software, the internet layer, HTTP layer, right? The TCP layer, and we have devices, right? So getting that next set of devices, or getting these devices connected back to the internet, I get it. But this point about what is the societal aspect? I mean, you started the whole show with the Google Glasses example.
Correct. Yes. Yes, and that's
I think people need something, right? I mean, in that Will Smith movie, they just show the world where they've adopted these computers, and then Will Smith goes back to question that, right?
Correct.
But where do we stay from where you are today to suddenly become that world where we are controlled by machines and we willingly give that control? Or people like you don't want to give control. I would give control. I mean, there's a certain logic of, okay, it will give me convenience of this kind, but at some point there's a trust dependency that builds in. For me, I bring it to a very basic thing. Like I have the Alexa in my living room, right? It's in my kitchen island. And I get up and ask for temperature, weather. I used to look at the weather app on my phone, and instead I say, what is the temperature outside and what does the day look like? I ask things, and my daughter likes to ask jokes, right? And we kind of try to do playthings, right? For me, at some point, it does, there are times when it doesn't say the right thing. And we play with it and say, Alexa, you're stupid. And it says, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And, you say, and sometimes we say, I'm sorry. And it says, don't mention it. And so today, as we are experimenting with it, the mom in me looks at it and goes, this is my living room. I don't want this kind of tone of conversation. I want us to be nice to Alexa. Right. So I can see the world where we could go where, the computer is like our puppy and it's part of our family. Because we have Roomba. We treat Roomba like a little puppy.
Yes.
Roomba and Brava. We have both of them and we treat it like our little, puppies.
Okay.
So we have to wrap up. We are out of time. It's 10:30. So I mean, this is fantastic conversation. So do you have any advice for people to get ready for that world?
Don't resist it. Adapt
Don't
to.
resist it. Resistance is futile.
No, don't resist it, because if you follow the news, you're gonna see that everything is software defined, right? Network software defined, everything. Software is the key thing for bringing all these hardwares together. Every business, every company, every manufacturer will have new devices that have embedded, connection to the internet. It's now giving. Think about, the benefits here. Resisting this one, it's gonna last for a certain time. Like what we resisted everything. We resisted people talking to us when we are texting. Now we accept that. All these things are really, it's a matter of time. So if you have this curve less in time, we're gonna actually get the benefits of
So
the
you're going to ride that curve, just make the best of it.
faster, faster, especially for healthcare, and this is a big thing for all of us here.
So we are out of time. I'm not sure I'm an early adopter, but I'm not somebody who's going to do stuff without no. Don't resist it. Take it. So I think my advice would be, think about it. Think about where the value is created, what you could do, so that it's a win-win for us and the machines. And the machines, they're just not here to slave for us when they do deep learning and work for us.
Right.
How can we build that world? I don't know. I'm still a dreamer. I'm not done. I'm still dreaming of what that world would look like. So we'll talk again, folks. I have to sign off. Bye now.